why you still feel stuck after years of meditation, energy work, spiritual training, and even martial training. Why do you still feel stuck? Now, I'm Sifu John. I'm a internal Kung Fu master and meditation teacher. I've been teaching and training for over the last 25 years around the world. Now, why we feel stuck is basically because we're looking in the wrong direction. I was training, crazy amount of hours, doing standing energy work, meditation, moving forms, sparring, while I was living in Hong Kong. So I was training anywhere from 6 to 10 hours a day and teaching as well. And I was doing this for a long time, but I still felt that, I wasn't satisfied. There was still more to unlock. I didn't understand myself as much as I'd like to. It's still more to learn, of course, but there was still a feeling of stuckness, not a true path of evolution and growth. I wanted to understand more deeper the energy work, chi, the mind, how that links to our martial prowess, but also the spirit, consciousness, the teachings of Christ, essentially. I was brought up Catholic and I'm a follower of Christ, and I love his teachings. They've given me so much, and I wanted to know more about those. Long story short, I had in my mind, okay, I want to go deeper into knowing Christ and the truth of him, and I also want to go deeper into the knowledge of internal Kung Fu and mastery in that sense. And luckily enough, I found this book called The Magus of Strovolos, which led me to find an esoteric Christian mystic who was doing healings and manifesting miracles that Christ could do. And I was blown away by this because I read the book, started to study it, and eventually moved to Cyprus to study and train there. Now, what I learned about initially that I'm talking about with you now, which is going to be a great gateway for you to start to really get the experience and get out of the kind of cycle and rut of spiritual development, is the etheric body, or the energy body. It was called the etheric double in the teachings of the Researchers of Truth, but the energy body is the term that is more linked to the Chinese culture. Qi energy, etheric ether for the Western esoteric Christian tradition. Now, that was the unlock, because the etheric body is the energetic mold. Now, what happened is that as I started training the etheric body, as I started training in terms of non-physical, and I came back to practice with my old training partners and my students, I found that my skill had skyrocketed far beyond what they were doing, because I was no longer stuck in the physical. I wasn't just using the physical approach to the energetic and mental. I was coming from the spiritual and energetic approach down to the body. So it changed the paradigm, and it transformed not only my skill martially, but also my life and my experience experientially. So personally, learning to understand thoughts and emotions better, learning how to navigate attention, learning how to focus better from understanding the etheric, the energetic system, which has several qualities. The ability to sense, like sensations, so the ability to sense yourself in space, the ability to move energy through your system, like moving your attention is similar, or even moving your body requires a kinetic energy, a movement of energy, but also visualization. So the ability to see images. Now, every thought and every emotion has an image in your mind's eye, and it influences you, how you feel. So understanding these three basic types of energy. So you also have creative ether, or creative energy as well. Now, as you start to practice, attune, and understand these energies, which are consistently and constantly present, as opposed to applying a new technique, new task, I'm going to make my bed, or I'm going to read a book, or I'm going to have a cold bath, or a sauna, or I'm going to go for a run, or lie in the sun, or do anal tanning, or whatever the hell it is you're doing. Rather than adding all of these external tasks or tools to level up your consciousness, to level up your spiritual life, to get you in a sense of rising energy, start to work with what you are. You are physical, energetic, emotional, mental, and spiritual. And as you start to focus on the energetic system through sensing, through moving, through visual, through creative energy, you start to become more present to yourself and your experience. So of course, this is just a short YouTube video, so we could work, for weeks, if not months, on each part of those, but you're getting the idea. To give you a simple thing to start with, start by sensing. Start sensing yourself in space, like your butt on the seat, or your hands on the phone, or the warmth on your skin, or your breath in and out from your lungs. This will tune you and train you to be more present, more conscious where you are. Next. So that's the etheric body, the energy system. That's one of the tools to get you unstuck, because you're working practically with what you are in the moment, not the task or the job or the thing that you think's going to get you more calm, more peaceful, more powerful. You're going to deal with the underlying frequency of what will allow you to be more peaceful, more present, more powerful, have more of a sense of purpose. Now, the next piece is one's level of consciousness, meaning, I first came across this idea when my first spiritual teachings when I was younger, when I kind of started getting out of fights and trouble all the time. And I found the teachings with some, friends at the time, and the Gurdjieff teachings and the fourth way. And that's the first time I heard about consciousness. Who talked about being asleep, like in the Matrix, right? And then subconscious and conscious and superconscious and self-superconscious. So there was these levels of consciousness. And I was like, oh, okay, so every human being is actually at a different level of consciousness. And I started to notice it. Some people were kind of like more asleep, like they weren't really present. Some people were much more aware. And you can feel that too. You know when someone's more conscious or unconscious. And then further, Daskalos was teaching this, about the different points of consciousness and how we're looking to become self-super consciousness like the Christ. Then even further down the track, I learned about the map of consciousness. Now, this is probably the most practical and pragmatic tool you can use to start to level up. Now, I found this through the teachings of Dr. David Hawkins and ended up traveling to America to study with his senior disciples at his groups in Sedona. Now, the map of consciousness outlines the levels of consciousness, down from shame, guilt, fear, anger, pride, up through to courage, peace, love, enlightenment, so on and so forth. So from lower fields of force to higher fields of power. Now, this is a true gateway. This is the true secret. This is how you level up. You level up through leveling up your consciousness. But then the question becomes is, how do I level up my level of consciousness? And it's actually pretty simple once you understand how. It just needs to be applied consistently, like a martial artist applies their training consistently, right? So one part is intention. It's about setting your spiritual intention. And you can really think of the yin yang as the symbol of that, spiritual intention, letting go. So spiritual intention and alignment with higher fields of consciousness, and letting go, release, and surrendering the lower negative fields. So, and then the question becomes, okay, how does that link to the energy body, the levels of consciousness? It precisely does, but we'll get into that in a moment. So the first thing is you want to be aware that there are levels of consciousness and that we are all operating from different levels according to both our intention, either a subconscious intention or a conscious intention that we have, meaning to be peaceful, to be loving, to be powerful, to be prosperous, to be free, to be wise, to be courageous, or for the people out there who want to go in the opposite direction, to be fearful, to be angry, to be proud. I've been coaching for about training and teaching people 25 plus years now. And no one, very rarely, I've only ever met one person who had a negative intention. One person, that wasn't even when I was coaching and teaching, that was at a job. But most people want to be peaceful, powerful, loving, kind, prosperous, free. Those emotions and those experiences are what they want. And the key, the gateway, the doorway is consciousness, is to attune your level of consciousness with the higher fields. So first is deciding. You decide you want to go to Japan, right? So that's your spiritual intention. But the next part is alignment. How do you actually get into that frequency? Firstly, you can hold your mind there. You can stay focused on that, like you're imagining someone you love. And as you imagine that person you love, you feel yourself getting into that feeling quality. But then the other part is, okay, letting go of the connections, the energies, the emotions, the thoughts that are pulling you into the lower fields of consciousness. So that comes down to how to let go. And that links to the use of the etheric system. So how do you actually allow negative frequencies, emotions, feelings to be in your system and consciously release and let them go? And that's where surrender and letting go practice comes into play. So you have intention work and surrender work, which is essentially the doorway, the way to level up your consciousness. On a side note, some people ask, okay, what's the deal with the cross? Well, Christ consciousness, Christ, God incarnate on earth, the Son of Man, aligning with his teachings to be unconditionally loving, to be at one with life, to forgive others, to love others. So Christ, of course, but also the symbolism of it, meaning self-mastery through time and space, the present moment, through, time, space, present moment, and then also mastery of the elements. So there's a reason that's there, but that's a side note. We can talk about that another time. Coming back to it, so the reason you're stuck is because you're trying to just add things to what you do. New meditation, new breath work, new technique, new mantra, new, whatever, right? But if you start to just make yourself the object of study, Tim, Mary, George, Joe, John, you are the object of study. And then what does that mean? Okay, we have a physical body. We have an energetic system. There's energy in our system. Of course there is. We're alive. We have emotions. We have thoughts. We have a level of consciousness which flows through us and determines how we express those parts of ourselves. So, simply put, start to operate from the paradigms of energy, non-physical, mind, emotion, consciousness. To make it very simple so you can get started today. Number one, set your spiritual intention. Peace, love, joy, prosperity, freedom, whatever it might be. And that can evolve, it can grow. And I'd suggest you read Letting Go as an entry point to understand those levels. Letting Go by Dr. David Hawkins is a great book to outline that for you so you can have to understand. But that also will train you on how to let go of the negative fields. How do you let go of tensions, fears, doubts, blames, complaints, worries, all the things that are pulling you back from your potential, pulling you back from feeling peaceful, powerful, and living with a sense of purpose. Okay, I know that was a lot to unpack. Simply put, consciousness and the etheric system, the energy system. Start to learn and understand those within you. Start to be present through sensing. Set your spiritual intention. Get the book Letting Go. It's a really good framework. Also, if you really want to go deeper into these, I have a free community on School. I'll put a link below as well, where you can do a 7-day challenge, it's a free challenge where I train you in the different types of energy and consciousness so you can start to get the experience for yourself. Okay, thank you so much for watching this video. Much love, and I look forward to seeing you in the next one. Peace.